Everything you've heard about Jesus' birth is probably wrong. Hi, I'm Dr. Patrick Pierce. I did the research and wrote the most accurate book about Jesus' birth and the 2 years surrounding that historic event. Here's how I happened to write that book. I was at a wonderful Christmas pageant that you can see behind me here, complete with flying angels, donkeys, and even camels. It was a great experience filled with heart-lifting songs and performances, but what made it even better was that several of my grandchildren were in the production. Now here came the questions. I'm a Bible scholar. I've translated the Bible Gospels and written a book about Jesus and the Gospels. I knew that this presentation I had just thoroughly enjoyed wasn't the way it really happened. However, I didn't have any idea what did happen or even who the people really were. I had studied and heard about Mary and Joseph all my life, but I never got to know who they were and how this whole event happened. I'm a research doctor, so I just had to find out. So my search began here in my study. My first big surprise was that there are hundreds and hundreds of documents from this time period or shortly after that tell us a lot about the people, the places, and even what happened. Wow, what a treasure for a researcher. I gathered all I could find and started reading, taking notes, constructing a timeline of all the events as they unfolded. What a fascinating time. What an interesting group of people. And what a series of events that surrounded Jesus' birth. Now that I had hundreds of pages of notes, thousands of pages of historical material, what was I going to do with it? I had to tell people the story. I started giving some talks to friends, church groups, and classes. My wife gave me the inspiration to tell the story firsthand, as if we were actually there. So that's what I did. My wife and I take you on a time cruise back in time to meet Joseph in the temple in Nazareth. You can see behind me the temple in Nazareth at the Nazareth village in Nazareth, Israel today. We really get to find out how Joseph and Mary and their families live. Things are very different than we expected. In many ways, life is harder in the first century, but in many ways, it was better. We fell in love with the people and the way of life. The highlight is meeting Joseph, Anna, and then Mary. Mary is having her 14th birthday party and has just arrived back from the temple in Jerusalem. It's a wonderful gathering, and you will love getting to know and understand these important people. One of our readers said she was so glad to know Joseph and Mary as real people and loved meeting them. The next part of the book covers the start of some hectic activity. We walk all over the Nazareth area. We are taken on a tour of Nazareth by Joseph and then over to their family's house where we are staying at this part of our visit. We then walk over to Mary's mother's house. You can see behind me some of the areas surrounding Nazareth, Israel today in the reconstruction. You can see how Joseph is selected by the priest to be Mary's husband. This wasn't at all what anyone expected. The way Joseph is selected is directly from several of the historic documents. It's almost unbelievable, but it was reported in a weird way to select a husband from my point of view. But that's what the ancient record said, so that's what the story tells. After Joseph is selected to be Mary's husband, Anna springs into action and arranges a betrothal ceremony. This was a big event and drew Mary and Joseph's relatives from Nazareth, Judea, and Bethlehem. We leave this section with the couple on a high, moving forward, waiting for their year before their actual wedding. One of our readers said, "When I got started, I couldn't stop." The actual story is so interesting, and it feels like I'm really there. The next part of the book covers a lot. Behind me is one of the paintings of the Annunciation. It's the start of the miracle that brought us Jesus. God here with us. Mary's annunciation by the angel Gabriel and the Holy Spirit and the conception of Jesus. Everything starts to get worse from here. Mary is now pregnant, and she has just been betrothed and not married yet. The visitation of Mary going to meet Elizabeth, who was pregnant with John the Baptist, is next. The sculpture behind me is the wonderful meeting that is found at the site of the visitation in the Judean hills west of Jerusalem. Mary spends 3 months there before Joseph comes down to accompany her back to Nazareth, only to discover she's pregnant. Joseph is told in a dream to take Mary, but then he's subject to rejection also. The priests put Mary and Joseph on trial at the Jerusalem temple for their crime. Both of them or one of them are going to be killed for their sin, as the law says. Behind me is a reconstruction of the temple that is found in Jerusalem today, and it's where they were tried. Both of them are almost killed because of Mary's condition, but they escape. They are rejected in Nazareth, and life is very hard for the two. The priests are trying to find a way to have them answer for their obvious sin that is worthy of death. One of the readers said, "I never knew what Mary and Joseph had to go through in that culture. They were stronger and more committed people than I ever thought they were." The last part of the book covers the trip from Nazareth down to Bethlehem, which took about a week because of Mary's condition. The couple ends up in a cave for Jesus' birth. It's very interesting because we're told a lot about the cave, its size, its shape, and location. Behind me is Jesus' birthplace in Bethlehem. When you come here, you can see that it's a much larger area than we tend to think of. Jesus is born, and everyone in the area has to come by and see. The angels have told the shepherds in the area, and they went around and told everyone else. There's a lot of accounts about all the commotion that was caused around the cave. The family then settles into Bethlehem, and Joseph is the town's carpenter. The scene behind me is of a first-century carpenter shop recreation at the Nazareth village in Nazareth, Israel. This lasts for a little more than a year when the wise men come to visit. There are several historic documents that actually tell us a lot about the wise men. They were kings from the Persian area to the north. They came with hundreds of men, soldiers, slaves, livestock, camels, and tents. It was like the circus on the Big Top had arrived right outside of Bethlehem. We get to spend some time with the wise men, and they tell us about who they are and where they're from. All of this is taken directly from the historic documents. They go into Nazareth with their parade of attendants and all the townspeople trailing along behind. One of the very interesting things that I found from the records is that the wise men presented their gifts to Jesus and his family on or around December 25th. I love that because it really makes Christmas and Christmas gifts extra special. Just as things are looking wonderful, it gets dangerous and scary. Behind me is Rubens' famous painting, Massacre of the Innocents. Herod sends his troops to round up the wise men so he can find out who this new king of the Jews is. The wise men are warned in a dream and leave right before the troops arrive. Joseph is also warned to get out of town and go to Egypt. Joseph, Mary, and Jesus just barely escape the death squad, who is there to kill all of the boys under 2 years old. The records say that their escape was made possible by strangers. And wait till you see who they are. No sooner are they safely on their way to Egypt when the death squad starts out to find John the Baptist and his family. Elizabeth and John also escape into the wilderness. Another reader said, "I was never so scared. I thought I was having heart palpitations and cold sweats." This book, Experience the Very First Christmas, brings you face to face with Jesus and his family. This is an experience you will never forget. One reader said, "I have never felt so close to God." Behind me is the cover of the printed book, that you will receive. Experience the very first Christmas. This is also available in a Kindle and Nook edition called Jesus' Birth. Be there. The publisher has made this super affordable for you. You can get 50% discount off the purchase price of this printed book or 25% off the Kindle or Nook editions. As a bonus, you will be able to join the Jesus Birth program at no cost or obligation. You will get several videos that will take you to the actual sites covered in the book. You will also get additional bonus material you can use to make this experience of Jesus' birth mean even more for you. Please order your book or books by clicking on the button on this page. We will get your book or books right to you. You will immediately be able to join the Jesus Birth program at no cost and receive all your extra bonuses. I look forward to sharing this time cruise journey with you. Thank you.